ever feel like the really, really interesting stuff is kind of hidden beneath the surface? Like, you got to dig a little deeper to find it.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing today, kind of like digital spelunkers. We're diving into the Internet Computer Developer Forum. And trust me, it's like we're right there eavesdropping on the architects of like a whole digital world.
It's pretty amazing, right? It really is where those ideas kind of go from, just a thought to lines of code,
And you've brought some of those lines of code with you today.
I am.
A collection of threads, you said, that are just buzzing with activity. And one that I immediately, like, my eyes went right to it when I saw your notes.
That figured.
Direct integration with Bitcoin, 648 replies.
Popular topic.
Over 114,000 views. Something tells me this is a big deal. It's huge-y.
Even for those of us who, maybe don't dream in JavaScript.
Right. Like, even if you're not, like, totally fluent in code, you can still appreciate this. This is like, imagine building a bridge.
Okay.
Between two giants. You've got the Internet Computer on one side, this platform that we're, spending this whole deep dive exploring. And then on the other side, you have Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The OG of blockchain.
Right. The one everyone knows.
Exactly. And now, imagine them finally being able to communicate directly.
Like a direct line. No more middlemen, just pure.
Pure cross-chain communication. It's a game changer.
Cross-chain communication?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask, how does that even work? Because these are two different systems, right? And that's what's so brilliant about it. It's all thanks to this, well, it's a mouthful. It's called chain key cryptography.
Chain key cryptography.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this. Think of every blockchain as like speaking its own language.
Okay.
They've got their own slang, their own grammar, the whole deal. Chain key is like the universal translator. It allows all these different blockchains to understand each other, share data securely.
Oh, wow.
Without compromising like their own individual strengths. It's pretty wild stuff.
Okay, that's a metaphor even I can grasp because otherwise it's like they're speaking two totally different languages, can't talk to each other.
Right.
So now they can have a conversation. But this isn't just about, like, two blockchains chatting over coffee, is it? What are the real world, like, if this actually works, what are the implications of this kind of integration?
The implications, they're huge, and they touch on, honestly, almost every aspect of how we use the internet. But I think the most immediate impact, the one that has everyone so excited, is what it could mean for DeFi.
DeFi.
Yeah, decentralized finance. So right now, most DeFi applications, they're kind of stuck in their own ecosystems, right?
Like little walled gardens.
Exactly. But with ChainKey, we're talking about a future where your DeFi tools on the Internet Computer can directly interact with the Bitcoin network. No more silos.
So instead of all these separate DeFi ecosystems, it's like you're creating this interconnected financial web, and it's all like powered by the blockchain.
You got it. It's like suddenly two economies that were totally isolated can now trade with each other, share resources. The possibilities are honestly kind of mind-blowing.
When you put it like that, it's a big deal. But looking through these forum threads that you pulled,
right,
I'm also seeing some titles that are, let's just say they require a decoder ring to understand. Ingress expiry, subnet, side effects of bot, like it's like a whole new language down here.
Welcome to the world of developers.
Yeah.
They've got their own shorthand, their own way of dissecting these incredibly complex problems.
And we wouldn't want to bog down innovation with too much plain English, right?
Right, exactly. Got to keep it concise.
But seriously, for our listeners who might be, feeling a little lost in translation, can we decode a couple of these just to, like, give us a lay of the land?
Absolutely. So let's see. Where should we start? Okay, about subnet.
Okay.
So you know how we keep talking about the Internet Computer as this vast network?
Yeah.
Well, think of subnets like mini networks within that larger network. Each one is kind of like a specialized department.
Okay.
You've got your transaction guys, your application runners, all working together, but they each have their own focus, making the whole system way more efficient. Does that make sense?
So it's a little bit like different departments within a company, each with their own thing they're focused on, but all kind of contributing to the bigger picture?
Perfect analogy. You got it.
Okay. What about Bob? I see Bob pop up a lot.
Bob, yeah. Okay, so you might notice developers using names like Alice and Bob a lot. It's not that they're like besties with these people.
Right.
It's more like they need placeholders, right? When they're talking about how different parts of the code interact,
Mhm.
they'll use these names to represent different users, different scenarios.
Oh, so it's just a way to simplify it so you're not bogged down with like user 1728 did this, it's Bob.
Exactly. It keeps the focus on the technical stuff, the challenges they're trying to
Yeah.
solve without getting lost in the weeds of, specific user details.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Right. Makes it easier to follow along sometimes.
It does, it does. So like even I can kind of start to picture, okay, Bob's interacting with the subnet over here, Alice is over here, and then...
Exactly. It's all about creating that shared language,
Yeah.
to tackle these complex challenges.
Right.
And speaking of challenges, there was this one thread that really, it kind of stuck with me. It's called Subnet Consensus Bugs, Impact on Canister Deployment.
Okay.
And it gets into some of the nuts and bolts of how they're tackling these technical hurdles,
Yeah.
with making sure that all these different subnets can seamlessly work together.
So it sounds like even in this world of like decentralized innovation, you still kind of need to get everyone on the same page.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like it's
You
not...
can't just throw a bunch of code out there and hope for the best.
Right, exactly, exactly. And it's not just about the code itself, right? Like we're getting these little glimpses of that in the forum,
Oh,
but
totally.
this forum is a window into this whole community.
It really is, yeah.
And like any community, it has its moments, right?
It definitely does, yeah. For example, there's this thread it's titled Community Statement on Constructive Dialogue. And I think it says a lot about the growing pains of building a decentralized ecosystem, from the ground up.
Yeah, I saw that one too as I was scrolling through, and they're talking about some pretty real world stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like toxicity. They even mentioned like personal attacks, it feels very human,
It does.
which I guess is kind of the point of all this, right? Trying to bring this tech back down to earth and figure out how we all interact with it.
Precisely. And I think what's really cool here, and actually kind of hopeful, is how they're approaching it.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's not about censorship. It's
Yeah.
not about, someone coming in and saying, you can't say that, It's about the community itself coming together, establishing these norms.
Yeah.
Figuring out how can we disagree productively?
Yeah.
How can we still work towards this shared vision
Yeah.
of a more open internet, a more decentralized internet, but do it in a way that's actually healthy and constructive,
Well, so it's like they're trying to build a digital democracy
Right.
complete with all of the messy but ultimately essential parts of that.
It's messy, but it's real.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And this thread, it gives us a glimpse into how they're trying to navigate all that.
Totally, yeah.
All those complexities, those...
It's a work in progress for sure.
Yeah.
You can see the thought they're putting into it.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of shaping the future, there's a thread here called Proposal to Elect New Release. RC 2024 AIR 9 NAV 26 ERO 131, which, even that, the date in there, it's very specific
It's right.
developers and their dates. But it mentions something called NNS proposal discussions.
Yes. The NNS.
It feels like with this one, we're getting into the real nitty gritty of how this decentralized world actually governs itself. Would you say that's accurate?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. This is where the internet computer's unique governance model really comes into play. So you know how most traditional tech platforms, they've got a CEO or a board of directors making all the decisions.
Yeah.
The internet computer, they do things a little differently. They've got this system called the Network Nervous System, the NNS. And it essentially allows users to directly participate in shaping the future of the platform.
Okay, so instead of a CEO calling the shots, it's the users themselves who get to decide.
That's the idea, yeah. So through the NNS, anyone can submit proposals,
Right.
new features they'd like to see, upgrades, even changes to how the entire protocol works. And then users who hold a certain amount of the platform's native token, they get to vote on those proposals.
So it's literally a direct democracy.
Pretty much.
But for a digital ecosystem.
Exactly.
Wow. Do we have any real world examples of how this has actually played out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, tons. I think one of the best examples, it happened pretty recently. There was this whole proposal about adjusting the platform's economic model, changing how they calculate transaction fees, that kind of thing. And it got, oh man, people were going back and forth on the forums,
Yeah.
debating it, proposing revisions,
Right.
all based on the community's feedback, right?
Yeah.
They actually took that feedback seriously.
Wow.
And then in the end, it actually went through like a majority vote through the NNS.
So they really are putting the, like, the economic levers of this whole ecosystem in the hands of the users.
It's true decentralization.
Right.
It's not just like talk.
Yeah.
They're really doing it.
That's kind of amazing when you think about it, that that's even possible.
I know, right?
Like, most companies are like, give us your money, we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah,
it's like, no, you guys figure it out, but here are the tools to do it.
Here's the framework, yeah. And I think, as we're like looking at these threads, right, it's just one snapshot in time. But you can see it. You can see it happening.
Oh, yeah.
Like from the technical nitty-gritty of Bitcoin integration to these subnet architectures we were talking about. And now to like literally how they govern themselves.
Yeah.
I think it just paints a really clear picture of a community that is not afraid to like roll up their sleeves and ask the big questions.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? Because we talk a lot about like, oh, what is the future of the internet going to look like?
Right. We throw that phrase around a lot.
But it's easy to like get lost in the hype of it all.
Totally.
And here in these forums, you actually see it happen.
They're seeing it being built.
Yeah, line by line of code.
Yeah. Comment by comment.
Comment by comment. It's being built.
And it's not just about, the technical specs. I mean, those are important. Don't get me wrong. But it's about the values, building something that's more decentralized, that's more equitable, ultimately more human-centric. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Well said. And for our listeners who are now hopefully as captivated by this world as we are, where can they go to learn more?
Oh, you got to dive into the forums.
Yeah.
Seriously. Explore the threads. Don't be afraid of a little jargon.
Yep.
And, maybe even jump in, join the conversation.
Yeah, why not?
Ask questions, challenge assumptions. It's like the future of the internet is being written right now, and it's open source.
What a thought to leave us with.
Right. Pretty wild.
From the sort of inner workings of how this thing operates to the community who's actually building it, we've really only just like scratched the surface of this whole world.
It's massive. Always evolving too, which is exciting.
That's the other thing. Until next time, keep exploring and just stay curious.
Stay curious.